All right, welcome to our second official winter special. I don't know in what number these will be rolled out to everyone to watch in, but this is the second one we've officially filmed together. You may have already watched, and if you haven't already, our interview with Justin Brock, where he went into his thoughts of the Medicare space, what to do with the months ahead, and how to view a lot of what's been going on in the Medicare space. Today, we're not going to talk anything to do with Medicare because we have one of the OGs of the industry, an integrity partner, an all-around outstanding human leader, mentor in the business, John Kight. And I kind of know where I'm going to go. But before we do, John, in case someone's lived under a rock and hasn't met you before, heard from you, or followed you online, give our viewers a quick introduction on John Kight.
Well, I got involved in the life insurance industry back in 2007, and so it's the life insurance industry from day one just totally changed my life, and I loved it. And so but started off on more of a corporate basis because my background, going way back, my background was professional golf, and then we had gotten involved in a network marketing company, and we really learned how to build teams, and I loved that. Like, that's what I've always felt like my calling was ever since I started. And so when I got hired into the life insurance world, I got hired to actually do that, for certain companies, and to actually teach other people how to do that. And so that kind of progressed. And then in 2015, I was 48 years old, and my wife and we were just kind of faced with the opportunity to kind of restart our career, if you will. And so we both had a life insurance license, and we said, you know what, let's go sell some life insurance, and let's go, just let's see what God's got in store. And so that was really October, November of 2015, and so, man, it was what a wild ride. Partnered with Integrity March of 21, and which was total life change. And so here we are today. We've been managing partners since March of 21 with Integrity. And listen, dude, it's a great industry. We've met some of the best people that we've ever met in our lives in this industry, and God's really blessed us here.
Outstanding. Today, we're going to discuss from two sides of the coin. One, a management perspective on things. And then I just wrote down a couple notes, an agent perspective on things. So if the first couple of minutes you think to yourself, this has nothing to do with me, stay on to the second half, because we're going to cover the spectrum of both management insights and personal producer insights in these next 25, 26, 27 minutes or so. So, John, you've seen the industry from a face-to-face, in-home era to now where a majority of distribution, like it or love it, hate it or whatever, is really done remotely. Now, from your perspective, has the management side of that changed much?
I don't think so. I think the management side I think it is what it's always has been for the managers that get it, which is the profitability of their agents, and then managing that process, from A to Z, managing the process of profitability. That hasn't changed, nor do I think that will ever change. I think if you look at the top managers, the people that the agents really do fall in love with, I think they do a really good job of setting the example. I think the shelf life on what you used to do 30 years ago, I don't think that works really well in our industry. And quite frankly, that's what led me to kind of dive back in and start to make some virtual sales. I just needed to be able to relate to the people that I was talking to, and really it would turn my spirit when I would mention about my success face to face back in 2017, 18. But yeah, I think personal example, Chris, I think that's always huge from a management standpoint. And then I think just the ability to see people as they could be versus who they are. And then with the mentality of a coach to be able to lead people and to influence people to create right habits, because really it's the habits of the agents that either produce profitability or struggle. So hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think habits dictate so much. Motivation's nice, but it wears off a few minutes later. And
Oh
there's
yeah.
either a habit to kick in behind it, or nothing happens.
Yeah. And I don't think, Chris, I don't think right people, if you look at quote right people in our industry, yeah, I think there's a certain amount of motivation that we all need, but I don't think it's very high. I don't think it's as high as some of the gimmick based IMOs out there think it is. And I think at some point in time the real people see through that.
Mhm.
And I don't need to see but so many success stories. I don't need to hear but so many times how great Bob over there's doing. So I think in a real world sense, I think it's just an understanding of, hey, everybody has their road. And yet there are a lot of new agents that start off, and it's like, man, it's like that flower that shoots up out of the concrete. It's pretty, but it's not going to last very long.
Mhm.
And I was listening to somebody recently, and I texted a buddy of mine who I knew was listening to the same success story, and it was from a brand new agent. And so my text to him was, man, I sure hope they make it through their first big struggle.
Yeah.
So but hope that, but I don't think right people need a ton of motivation. I think the right people, they motivate themselves, and they get that from 5:30 to 8 o'clock every morning.
Mhm. I think a little motivation's okay, but there is an overdose of anything as well.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering though, because I've been thinking this a lot myself, and you've seen both sides of the industry. Are there really that many structural differences between remote sales and field sales outside of trading your car for computer and a CRM, direct mail for some form of digital, inbound, outbound, whatever? Really, when it comes down to it, the people are the people, the product is the product. The presentation might be a little tech different to sign, but is it all that different when we really put these two pieces of the business side by side?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is at all. And I'm not speaking on theory. I'm just speaking on my personal experience. Just over the last, as a matter of fact, I was just reviewing my personal sales since September, and so it's been eye opening, and something that when I engaged in, I went, oh my gosh, like to be really transparent with you, Chris, I was like, can I actually do this?
Mhm.
From somebody that has only been face to face, can I actually write an application over this smartphone? Can I actually do this? And so, but pleasantly, as I look back on my experience over the last couple of months, it's building like and trust. It's caring about the client. It's talking to them. It's finding out, from their standpoint, what do they want to accomplish, and it's listening to them. And so, yeah, I don't think, yeah, technically you look at face to face versus virtual or telesales, whatever you want to call it. And you can talk about the differences there, but I think as far as human nature's never changed, and it's never going to change. Those who learn human nature in themselves and in other people, they'll win no matter what the format is.
I was just thinking for a minute, people talk about how hard it is to get people on the phone. And I thought from the other side, you're talking about getting into their physical home. Like that's just as hard. Like you have to leave your home, drive to somebody else's, however long it took you to get there,
Yeah.
figure out where it is, park there, walk up, and then they have to allow you into their actual home. So, maybe it's really not all that different anyway. Well, get them to pick up the phone. No, I have to actually enter their home. It might be all pretty similar. Before we
Chris,
transition into talking about
hey,
agent
Chris.
stuff, go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, here's something important with that though, because you and I both we stomached our share of agents that always targeted face to face as being too hard, right?
Mhm.
You and I have probably already stomached our share of people that have now said virtual, and getting people on the phone, all of the things too hard. I think one of the things important for people to understand is no matter how the format is. Again, I tell my agents all the time, if you don't like virtual, go face to face. I don't care. Like, it's not, there's no law saying you can't go knock on somebody's door and go face to face, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that drives success, no matter what the format, is always your desire. And if people understand that, Chris, it takes away every bit. Because here's the thing: if you're having struggles, then hey, let's interrogate your desire, because your desire is what overcomes all of those struggles. And when we sit down and examine something, from a distance, we can all come. Listen, if I listen to some of the negative agents I have, I might just call Brian Adams and say, "Hey, Brian, I don't think the insurance industry works anymore, dude. Like, it's really hard, And so anyway, but I wanted to say that for your podcast purposes. But your desire will figure out what you have to do to create the right result of profitability.
Could that be one of the biggest reasons why people suffer from failure to launch? Because I've talked to hundreds of agents once I figured out ZipRecruiter isn't that hard, and I figured out how to send them from this page to that page, and a program people would mark up for twice the price. I'm like, I got this. So I talked to plenty of people the last 6 to 12 months. I've contracted, 10% of them, and only 1% of them actually do anything longer than a week, if that. Is it an expectation issue? Because I don't think it's a systems or a training or a lead or a comp problem. Like, what's the reason most people fail to launch?
Most people don't have the guts to be 1099. And if you're going to build your agency's cold market, you just went through the perfect numbers. And the thing is that what will change your overall results is that when you get that 1%, it is vital that you do get into their warm market depth. And because, again, most people don't have the guts to be 1099. It sounds good. I hire more people for 2 weeks than you can shake a stick at, right? I'm famous for hiring people for 2 weeks. But you once we understand that, and once I understood that the structure was going to produce the result, then it became not so much a question of what to do. It was just me doing it.
Makes sense. I came in prepared, but I just want to write stuff down so I don't forget to try to get it in there. We talked a lot about the management side, or very briefly at least, talked about expectations, the fact that maybe remote and field aren't all that different. But as you're working those numbers and you're talking with, contracting, starting, some of them sell, most of them don't. Is there anything that you've learned over the course of the years of management in large agency work to protect yourself from, like red flags you've noticed or seen or watched and said, that's bad, and I've known it's bad now, and now I know how to stop it sooner? Or is there anything you've learned to kind of protect what you've built over the years?
Wow, that's a great question. If I'm honest, I think that I see the best in people, and so I do set myself up. And my wife's in the next room. She would be great at coming out here and telling you, because she tells me, like, I'm the world's worst for telling her how awesome this individual is going to do. And she doesn't want to be negative, right? But she will tell me, just be careful. And whenever she says that, I always know exactly what the heck she's talking about, and like, really? And but if there's one thing that I would pay attention more to, as far as red flags, are people that don't fall in love with the association. And I'm not talking about from a motivation standpoint, but I just know that there are a lot of winners out there that fall in love with the locker room. And people that really want to win in this industry, when you get them on Zoom calls or conference calls and they get around people that are getting the results that they want, I just find that right people become real addicted to that.
Yeah.
And the people that aren't addicted to that, I need to pay attention to.
Absolutely. But nothing good happens in the dark. I've even got a simple thing going with interviews. Like if you can't get on a Zoom call, either you're not technology proficient enough to do any of this, face-to-face, field, remote. Like if you can't figure Zoom out, I mean, try again and come back next week. This might not be for you. And if you aren't willing to get on Zoom, then who are you anyway? And why am I going to give you open access to run up however much debt it takes to get terminated? It's just like a safety mechanism to me. And then from there, association. Are you not willing to be a part of anything? You know, the biggest roll up I took recently was allowing a former manager to manage, even when I thought what he was doing wasn't going to work. It eventually caught up to me anyway, as it moves up the hierarchy. And if someone isn't willing to associate themselves and be a part of what we're building, they can go build it somewhere else. Like there's plenty of places, and, you know, pick up a contract with an FMO and a salaried, you know, person with no risk. So I think association is a great way to filter out the bad and to protect the good. I was thinking too, we talked a little bit about the management side of things, but on the flip side, in our next 14 minutes or so, the agent side. What should an agent really be looking for when they decide where to plant their flag and to invest 6, 12, 24 months or their entire future? Because this time of year, people are constantly looking for something new. Last weekend, my email would not stop with ZipRecruiter leads coming in from people sitting at home shopping for the next opportunity. What's some things that they should be looking for, though, when they decide where to get their start in the business?
So are you talking about from a new person standpoint, what they should be looking for?
Yeah, brand new agent, just got their licensed. You know, they haven't hopped around a few IMOs yet, just like as green as they can be. What really should they be looking for?
So what I would look for is, with my hindsight, I would look for a leader that sets the example. And here's the thing, Chris, I'm not talking about, you know, if a leader has a big organization and, you know, they're not out in the field, you know, 5 days a week. That's not what I'm talking. I'm just talking about a leader that's engaged, right? Versus leaders that have that kind of that distance, antiseptic type relationship, you know, like I would find a leader that's willing to get hands-on and somebody that, again, setting the example, engaged. And then I would look at their system. Do I have the minimum technology that I need to run a real business? That this is not MLM. This is not, I mean, like, we really need to know certain numbers because we have to manage. And if we are going to hire and we're going to become financially responsible for people, do we have some technology in place that can maybe identify early trends? You know, like hiring that agent and their first 5 applications is the 2,500 AP with Mutual of Omaha. You know, do we have? Can we identify those? And then, you know, compliant leads. I mean, you know, if I'm joining this industry and I know that my revenue, whether it's going to be personal production or agency building, but my revenue is going to come from the quality of leads, that I'm going to look at compliance. I'm going to find a company that's going to, you know, really put compliance at a high level. Versus, I mean, I can tell you, Chris, I've gotten a couple of just somebody sent them to me. They're like, hey, I got this from a client. And what some companies are mailing, it's like, I mean, more power to them, but I wouldn't want to go to jail. And if I got a pink letter in the mail and it said, hey, call us about your mortgage, you know, like, and it's a mortgage protection lead. So I think compliance is a big thing, but those are the things that I'm looking for. Once I find those things, Chris, it's all on me. Grass is not greener. And yeah, you may get recruited and somebody may throw out contract levels. But if I can be really honest with your listeners on here, I can just tell you that success has very little to do with contract levels. And if you don't get suckered into that, then if you just stick with an engaged leader, a leader that's really going to be honest, truthful, engaged with you and helping you create the right habits, compliant leads, minimum agent focused technology, you're in the right place, man. Don't get suckered with that, with the guy calling you about that high comp level. Because I will tell you what, I've never taken my comp level and bought a car with it. I've never taken my comp level and bought a house. I've never taken my comp level to the grocery store. There's a lot of people that choose a higher comp level right before they go out of business.
Yeah, very well said. I don't know which way to go with that yet, because I could segue in two different directions all at once, but I'll go to this one. Belief. I feel like I could smell in the air the belief draining out of somebody once. That didn't come out right. I could see it. Like, it was almost palpable in a remote sense, that all of a sudden the wording on a lead became the problem, not their activity, or the actions of the recruit became the problem, or the contracting department, or it was like all of a sudden the belief balloon had just drained itself to the point that it was just like flapping there, gone. How do you like fix that? Like, how do you fix you can't make someone do it. You can't make someone want it. You can't do it for them. But when their belief has sort of just like left with the wind, is there any way to fix that with someone who's proven they could do it before?
I think it's in your leadership conversations, I think that you're constantly talking about the battle that we all face. I think we're constantly talking about how the enemy will get in our heads, and the lies that the enemy whispers. I think we all are. I think we all understand that this is an ebb and flow business. It's not a flow and flow. It's an ebb and flow.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can seem like ebb flow, but it's an ebb and flow business. And so, we do have to just prepare ourselves that, the next struggle that comes up, it's not the death of us. As a matter of fact, if you understand that the struggle comes to teach you something, then you kind of embrace it. And even when you're in the suck, and you're in the struggle, you just know that every single leader's been there. No two leaders, I think, have the exact same struggles, because no two leaders have to learn the same things. But what you have to understand is that if you aspire to be an influencer in this industry, and you aspire to be a leader, and you aspire to be, an anointed leader, somebody that really does make a difference in people's lives, you got to know what you're wanting. Because what you're inviting into your life is a lot of conflict, and what you're going to get paid a lot of money for. What these life insurance companies pay a lot of money for are the Chris Smiths of the world that can prove that they can get from conflict to conflict, without losing, the hope of and the dream of where we're going. I can go through struggles and it not crush me. I can go through the struggles of life, and I can keep looking forward with an incredible positive expectation that, it's like when your guy gets out of the penalty box, Chris. I know you're a Philly guy, and I'm even though I'm here in Northeast Florida now, I'm still a Carolina Hurricane fan, right? When your guy gets out of that penalty box and he's racing, and all of a sudden that puck goes wide and it just catches him at the perfect time, I can have great expectation that as soon as I get through this struggle, man, there's gonna be a ton of blessings that come from it.
Well said. Let's go into, we're going to save that one to the very end. We talked a little bit about agent management perspectives. We talk about how an agent should pick a home, especially at the time of year where they're doing a lot of shopping around and looking for a way to rewrite their future. But what should an agent bring to an IMO, an agency, wherever they are? what should they be giving in return for what they're getting?
I always tell people that what you bring to the table is, number one, a need or desire to make money. Number two, you got to have a work ethic. And number three, be willing to follow the system. Don't challenge the system. The system is working for so many people. So come in and follow the system, and then it's just realizing that the system isn't something, it's not something that is difficult. It's really simple, but just follow that. Follow the number of leads that you have to get to make X number of phone calls to book X number of appointments. Be willing to mirror the phone script that's taught to you. Be willing to go through your process of gaining, even though somebody can give you a fact finder, somebody can give you things that help you out. You just have to realize that Chris Smith can never give you his conviction. And so agents need to understand that we can only get them so far, but they really do have to go through that, 2 to 3 month process of really getting their own conviction. But once you get that, that's the thing that nobody can ever take away from you.
Well said. Let's wrap up on a little bit of reflecting on this last year and what you expect out of the year ahead. You just got out of a meeting that has a lot to do with, for or planning ahead and looking ahead and such. But what kind of reflections do you have on 2025 as a whole?
I think for us, it's been a huge growth year. Personal growth. My wife and I, we just had an awesome conversation, just where we are in our growth. And if I can say this on your podcast, in our faith. So we feel like that 2025 was just huge for us in a faith growing year. And because listen, we've experienced times in our business where, we can't take credit for the success that we've had. We just can't do it. I'm not going to sit there and look at Chris Smith or look on this camera or talk to anybody and say, hey, let me tell you exactly what we did in order to grow. I'm not going to do that, because I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest things I did in 2016, 15, 16, 17, 18, to really, grow an agency with over 120 writers a week and over 400 writers a month. And, to get somebody like Integrity Marketing Group to look at that and go, hey, I'd like to buy that book of business, for that to happen. Probably the biggest thing that I did was went out there and just set the example and wrote personally. And people want to know, hey, well, what was your recruiting strategy? I never did one cold market interview. So how do I explain it? Here's how I explain it. God moved in our business. God's hand moved in our business, and we've experienced that. And I will tell you, it's awesome, because when that thing that you're going for, that's driving you, and you're going for it day after day, month after month, year after year. And some of you guys listen to this podcast, you might have 10 years behind you. And you're starting in your mind, you're starting to think, wow, is this ever going to happen? Is it ever going to happen? Did I make a mistake? Did I go down the wrong road? Should I have done? Let me tell you something. When God starts to move in your business, he's going to accomplish more in about 2 to 3 months than you've been able to accomplish in 15, 20 years. So where we are, Chris, going into 2026, we're just really expecting big things, and we just want to be good stewards, man. We want to make a difference in people's lives. We want to really be able to disciple people at a level and really help them grow and become who they were created to become. That's the thing that we're addicted to in this business. And so I'm just thankful to still have the opportunity. I'm thankful that Integrity, and I just told them as we jumped off this phone call, I'm thankful that they still allow me to do that.
Well said. It's tough to want to follow that one up, but I got one last bonus question. But before I ask one last question, I think is one of the biggest people could wrap their heads around outside of how to sell a policy or how to get excited or all that other stuff. If any of this has connected with you in any way, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Engage with the content. Hit the like button, subscribe somewhere up here, over there, comment below, and hey, share it out with someone and let them know that you took something away from today's conversation, because this winter special isn't just a one-part series. As of right now, there's like 10 of these, which is pretty incredible. All kinds of different people from all kinds of different spaces in the business sharing at completely free to you their thoughts and insights on their place in the industry. John, last bonus question of this conversation is getting family engaged. I think your significant other, whoever you cohabitate with, whoever depends on you, has a lot to do if you make it or how far you make it, if you get into it, if you don't. And when I met my now wife, originally, girlfriend just 5 years ago, I used to say to her, she'd ask, like, what is this insurance, final expense, old people, the ghetto? Like, what is any of this? What is this? And I would say to her over and over again, it's too complicated. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's weird. It's complicated. They're all these things. And she's genuinely trying to figure out, what is it? I like you. I want to know what this is. And I kept pushing it off until one day I came to the realization that just got to share it, like explain it, help her understand it. And then it created that engagement for it all to work. How important is the significant other, the spouse, in the engagement process, keeping them engaged, or maybe for the brand new agent, explaining to their wife or husband what this 1099 journey is going to look like and why they need their support?
Yeah, Chris, I think it's actually the secret to our industry. I think spousal involvement or significant other involvement is the secret to our business. And it's not important. It's way more important than important. Like, I don't even know the word to use. And really, some of you guys, you may go through, maybe one of your struggles is you're going to go through a negative spouse. You're going to go through you're going to go through a significant other that doesn't share in your excitement for 1099. I know when I first got started, as I was transitioning out of professional golf into network marketing, I was engaged to Kim Harrison at the time. It wasn't Kim Kite like it's been for over 31 years now. But I remember, like, she didn't want anything to do with it. Like, she grew up with a dad that was home at 5 o'clock every afternoon, ate dinner at the dinner table, and here I was. I mean, I was out, 5-6 evenings a week. I was like, it was just way different than what she had signed up for, and in our relationship. But I will tell you, as she's come around, and as she jumped in with me and we started dreaming together, and she really saw that I wasn't going to quit. A lot of spouses, the reason they're negative is not the dream of what your business can achieve. It's that they don't believe in you. They've seen you go through tough times before, and they've seen you retreat. And so for those people that do have a negative spouse, I will tell you, you're being challenged. So man up or woman up to that challenge. But to go back to answer your question, Chris, spousal or significant other involvement is the secret, not only to our industry, but to all success. And I tell people all the time in my team, your spouse or significant, they don't have to join you in the business, but you better be dreaming together. Your spouse and significant other, they need to know why you're doing what you're doing. They need to go all in on where you're going in your life. And they need to be able to support that. If they can support that, Chris, what I found is that if you can get a husband, wife, or a partnership, if you can get them speaking good things to each other and speaking good things about their business that may not be in a place right now where there's a lot of good things to say about it. But if you can start speaking life into that, there's no limit to what you can create here. So what a great question.
Well said. Well said. If you guys took anything away from this conversation, or you didn't, you probably should check your pulse. You may have already died and not known it, woken up somewhere you didn't expect to be, but I sure did. And I imagine you did as well. John, thank you for taking the time out of the goodness of your heart, expecting just to give back to those that listen and knowing that someone took something away that's going to change them in a very financial way, in a internal way, in a way that this kind of content's designed to create. So John, thank you.
You're welcome, Chris. Thank you.